we're going to walk through one of the most foundational origin stories there is. But we're going to do it a little differently. We're not going to focus on interpretations or what people think it means. We're just going to look at what the source text actually says step by step.
You know, a lot of us think we know the story of Adam and Eve inside and out, but the details can get kind of fuzzy over time. So let's go straight to the source, to the original narrative, and just rediscover the sequence of events as they were first written down.
And, to be super clear, our one and only source for this whole explainer is the second chapter of the book of Genesis. Everything we're about to cover comes directly from these verses. That's it.
So, where does this story pick up? Well, it's not in some empty void. The universe is actually already finished. The narrative kicks off on this really grand cosmic scale.
Just listen to the finality in that opening line. The work is done. The huge stage of the heavens and the earth is completely set. It's a finished world. But, as we're about to see, it's also a pretty static one.
And right away, the camera kind of zooms in, you know? From this huge cosmic view, right down to the ground level to describe what Earth was like just before our main story really gets going.
The text paints this picture of a world just full of potential, but it's dormant. It's ready for action, but it's just waiting. And notice the two reasons it gives. There was no rain yet, and maybe more importantly, there was no one there to work the ground. The whole planet is basically waiting for an actor to walk onto the stage.
So even while the world was in this waiting state, it wasn't some barren wasteland. It was actually being prepared, watered from the inside out by these streams. The system was all in place. It was just missing that one key component.
And that, of course, brings us to the big moment, the inciting incident of the whole story, the creation of that key component, the very first human.
The source text lays this out as this really deliberate two-part process. It's not just poof, and he's there. First, a physical form is sculpted from the earth, from dust. Then, in a totally separate action, the breath of life is breathed into him. This is a pretty significant distinction. It separates the physical body from whatever that animating life force is, and it's only after that second step that the form becomes a living being.
Okay, so now that we have a living being, the story shifts to creating his environment. Not the whole world, but this special, cultivated place.
So this Garden of Eden, it's described as being beautiful and practical, pleasing to the eye and good for food. But then the text makes sure to point out two very specific trees that were planted right in the middle of it all. The tree of life and the one that's about to become the absolute center of the story, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Now this is huge. The man is immediately given a purpose. He's not there just to relax and enjoy the scenery. He's a steward, a caretaker. His main job is to cultivate and protect this garden.
And with that purpose comes one single, really important rule. The freedom he has is enormous. He can eat from any tree he wants. But the one prohibition is absolute, and it comes with the most serious warning you can imagine. Eat from this one tree, and you will die. The stakes are set right from the get-go.
Then the text gives us this interesting little geographic detail, kind of grounding the garden and connecting it to the real world. A single great river flows out of Eden and then splits into four. And it even names two of the most famous rivers of the ancient world, the Tigris and the Euphrates.
But even in this perfect world, with a man who has a clear purpose, the narrative throws a wrench in the works. It introduces a problem, the very first thing in all of creation to be called not good.
This is a major turning point. I mean, think about it. For the first time, something in this brand new world is described as not good. And that thing is solitude. So a quest begins to find a companion, a suitable helper.
So what's the first attempt to solve this problem? Well, it involves creating even more life. All the wild animals and birds are formed from the ground, just like the man was. And then they're brought before him, and he's given the task of naming every single one, which is a pretty big act of authority, right?
But after all that, after this huge parade of creatures comes before him, the text just says it plainly, none of them were a match. The man's loneliness isn't solved, which really builds the tension in the story.
So, this failure to find the right companion among the animals, it totally sets the stage for the climax of the chapter, the final, definitive solution to the problem.
And this act of creation is fundamentally different from all the others. It doesn't start with the ground. It starts with the man himself. He's put into this deep sleep. A part of him is literally taken, and from that very same material, the woman is built.
The man's reaction is just instantaneous. It's this beautiful, poetic cry of recognition. He sees her, and he gets it immediately. She is his other half,
made from the exact same stuff. The search is over.
And what's so fascinating here is that the text actually pauses its own story to give us an interpretation of what just happened. It says that this unique creation story is the origin. It's the foundational reason for the bond of marriage, this idea of two people becoming one flesh.
The chapter ends on this incredibly powerful and peaceful image. A state of complete innocence, total vulnerability. They're naked, completely open with each other, and the concept of shame literally doesn't even exist for them. It's like the final brushstroke on this painting of a perfect, pristine world.
But that peaceful ending also leaves us hanging with this big question, doesn't it? What does that state of no shame really mean? And with that one forbidden tree just sitting right there in the middle of everything, you have to wonder, how long could a world like that possibly last?